All right, good news is the hull looks great. No problems with the rudder, no problems with the hardware down there, no problems with the keel, all great. This, however, is not supposed to move. So there is a bearing, a cutlass bearing that fits inside of this strut, and it has gone. But in order to change that, we have to remove the prop, uncouple the prop shaft from the motor, which has a V-drive and should be nice and crowded and difficult to get to. We slide it out, and you have to also get that coupler off the prop shaft, which should also prove nice and difficult. So I have to do all of that because I have to splash tomorrow morning, so this has to get done today. Luckily, we have that cutlass bearing in the shop, which is just the kind of temptation that'll really screw me over. So I just have to get that into there. Easy peasy, right?
Sure it is.
Sure it is. My boss bet me a case of beer that I couldn't get that cutlass bearing out and replaced without pulling the entire prop shaft. And I love a good challenge, and I now have a mill and a lathe to use, so I'm gonna go ahead and build my own tool.
I've never seen that. Grease the shit out of that.
Okay.
And then fucking put it in there. You're gonna have to take the zip cut and go fucking do not.
Nick the prop shaft.
I cannot stress. Do not hit that shaft.
Okay.
Or you'll be fucked.
He's really admonishing me as if it's not my boat.
It doesn't matter.
Don't matter.
He cares more about the boat than the
He
owner.
certainly does. He certainly does.
The boss was right again. As soon as I retire.
This is the original prop, and as you can tell, that's not color correction. This is actually pink, and props turn pink. Bronze in the ocean turns pink when it corrodes, and it's basically a lot weaker now. Now, there's a lot of meat on these blades, so she could still run. I don't think she'd snap off or anything. I'm still trying to figure out how to get this folding mechanism to work properly. However, I do have another option. Hidden in the back corner of the shop was this old bronze prop. It's thinner, and it's about the exact same diameter. I think it's got 1 inch diameter more, but it's the same size prop shaft, which is a lucky strike. My third, I think, of the day. So if I can get the rest of the hardware together, I think I'll swap the prop for this one. And it should run a bit more efficiently than the folding prop while motoring, but less efficient than a folding prop while sailing. However, if the folding prop doesn't fold, then they would be the same. So since it doesn't fold, this is basically just an upgrade. Well, I'm pretty sure I have a horseshoe up my butt, but everything worked out great. It's been just a few hours here on the rail. We splash 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and I cannot believe that I just hammered out a cutlass bearing, put on a brand new prop, and painted her and pressure washed her and everything else all in this short amount of time. It worked out so well, so happy.
Oh, I never intend to make a breakthrough. Few go lives, they just tend to intertwine you. Well, I was born just past November, shelf life short and empty weather, salary poisoning the movies. Around to smell the roses on the ground, to hear the birds up in the trees, the magic flutes and swaying trees. Expects to see his day through. Good luck favors the holy. Nothing is in me. Well, he was born just past the weather, born to write like he intends to. Inspiration from divine beings, the notes up in the sky. Well, he was born for history books, the movies and the catchy hooks. The rest of us don't stand a chance to supersede the setting trend.
All right, well, we had a lovely sail in her. She sails so good. She sails so good. So much better than I'm used to with the old Sea Lark. Quite a mover, quite a shaker, and with a new prop on there, mwah, it's great. There's still a lot of stuff to fix, however. The engine's still giving me trouble. As you just saw, I wouldn't get started on its way back in, and that is mainly to blame with the choke, which I don't think is actually functioning. But it's not the only problem I have with the control panel. This is quite a narrow cockpit, as I'm sure you can tell. But this is the throttle, which this action here is all right, but then back here, there's not much going on. Similar situation with this gear shift, quite loose, and I think she's still into gear, and it's not until you really push it hard that you get some reverse, and then forward, I don't know. When you're pulling it into forward, it doesn't really engage till here, but then when you push it back to here, it's still in gear. It's not till you force it back. So we got the choke, which doesn't seem to be doing much, and the RPM gauge doesn't seem to work either. So let's dig around that engine room, see if we can fix things up. You gonna make it up here? Come on. Come on. Oi! Okay. He's a good girl. Oh, he's so good. Oh, you're gonna love this. This engine placement is kind of funny. Okay, this Atomic 4 is set up a little bit funny, wherein it's a 4-cylinder, bing, 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 across the top, and then there's a left side and there's a right side. Now, one side has the exhaust manifold, the intake manifold, all of the carburetor, all of the tubing and wiring, the gear shift cables, all of that. Okay? And the other side has... well, it doesn't really have much. Now, funny thing about this engine, it's facing backwards. So the front of the engine is at the stern of the boat. The back of the engine is facing forward, and this right here is a V-drive. Now what that means is the side of the engine that has all the stuff that I need to get at cannot be accessed from the quarter berth here inside the boat. Instead, oh, this is gonna be fun. I'm going up there and climbing down the hatch and forcing all of 6'6", 220 pounds of me through the smallest of little crevices. It's gonna be good. It's all down here. Okay.
You tried gaining the strength to find him in you.
Ah, this is where I need to be. All my adjustments can be done from here. Just hold that. Would you? Alright. Alright, well, let's go down here. Alright. Here's the Atomic 4, and there's all the linkages I needed. So we've got an adjuster here for the throttle. Nice. Another adjuster here. One of those is choke and one of those is throttle. I'll find out in a second. And behind door number 2, we've got the circulation fan. Pretty rickety. And this thing is probably a lot older than I am. And then we got the gear shift linkage, and that explains why that is so loose. Look at that. And it's just, this one's nice and skookum, but that, Alright, let's find the choke too. There's so much room in here for activities. Wow! Okay, you guys just stay over there, okay? I'll be over here. Okay, bye-bye.
The sun has set so long ago, and everything they've got to know is gone, and now the only fear is how do I get out of here?
Alright, well the choke seems to work. That's a good sign. We got the throttle tightened up a little bit. The response is much better. I'd say if I can finally actually throttle all the way up, which is kind of nice. Whew, that's a tight spot. But yeah, listen to this. That's full rev, baby. I couldn't do that before. Oh yeah! Feel the power! More! Yeah! Purring like a kitten. There's another problem. Now, those of you who were looking closely in yesterday's episode will have noticed a little sparky spark. The sparkiness is coming from right about here. And that is the main coil that feeds the rotor cup here. The coil is a little corroded, and this wire doesn't feel too bad, but obviously something in there in the shielding is failing. So let's pull that out. Somewhere in here. So this is a coil. It produces a high voltage, low amperage jolt of electricity that goes through the spark plugs and then ignites the gasoline. It is timed, and so 12 volt feeds down into the system, produces an electromagnet, and every time it grounds out, it fires off a high voltage shot down here. Now the problem with high voltage is that it really likes to arc. So although you don't need a lot of the conductive material because it is incredibly low amperage, you still need a lot of insulation because this stuff just loves to shoot and find its way to ground. So let's add a little isolation.
And I'll try to always look for
New coat of paint looks great. Got 2 coats on there, and look at that. That is like total overkill for the isolation. So we shouldn't have any more grounding issues. If there's any other issues with this, I can of course replace the entire ignition coil, which is kind of a schedule thing you should probably do anyways, but I'm just gonna try and stretch it out a little bit further and see if this fixes the problem. Alright, should all be installed and nice and in there. I'm gonna go turn it over. You guys keep an eye on it for me, okay? Oh, that fired up a lot faster. That might explain our failure to start earlier. It always takes a while for this thing to start up and on a cold start. And that might have been it. Seems to be running good now. All right. Just kidding, now the alternator doesn't work. I think I wired something wrong. All right, so you can see this very bright white line. I'm almost positive that I put that on the wrong terminal. I'm just gonna check back through my footage, but that seems to come out of the, here, let me show you. You see there? This is the same white line coming around, turns gold brown like everything else in this thing, and ties right into the block here, which also ties into another wire that comes in that goes off of ground here. And I just need to check and make sure that I don't have that wrong. No, see, this is the wiring. There's the coil. We have the ignition bit. We have negative, ground, and then we have the ignition switch and also a wire that comes off of the alternator regulator to the 12-volt lead. So that's that white curly one we were looking at. So both of these are right. So maybe they're just not tightened down enough. Battery drops below 12 volts as soon as I really let it down onto idle. So I don't know what that means. If it's just not charging fully, I'm going to try tightening up the belt. Maybe it's not, maybe it's sliding. There's like a lot of noises down there, but it's an old engine. They make all kinds of weird noises. So I don't know. Got to figure out what's wrong. I don't know if you guys can see that. But that is maybe the loosest alternator belt I've ever seen. And it's also kind of in pieces. So I'm going to pull that out and replace it. So I just went into town, grabbed the belt I need, but we're also going to go check out Clay's boat, because Clay has a slightly older boat with the exact same engine.
So, does yours have the same? That you can remove the whole section so you can actually get down into it?
Funny you should mention that. I do not have that feature. So my alternator is on that side, because all of this is pointed aft.
Oh, because you got a V-drive.
I've got a V-drive.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah. Here, this is for you.
Oh, yes, a beer. I like beer. Night fucking mirror.
Oof.
Fucking, I'm sure that's the power line.
Well, I'm glad that Peter did such a good job with mine. He cleaned up a lot of things. So the wiring on the engine itself is actually dead simple.
From there?
So that's the heat exchanger. Mine is raw water cooled, unfortunately. Yeah. Yours, I mean, they both kind of look the same condition, I'll be real with you.
Look at that. 170.
170 what?
Volts.
Why do you have 170 volts?
Because I run big power.
That's not...
Milliamps. 170 volts, because I don't fuck around. Go big or go home.
And now we know why Clay runs diesel and gas and not electric power. All right, let's install the new belt. Charging voltage. All right, well, I'm very proud. We got a lot of work done here. There's a lot more still to do, but the boat is looking great. I want to give another huge thank you to Peter and Kathy. It's just such a great boat. Like, I'm really happy, and she's gonna be awesome to sail around. And that's it, that's all for me. Thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait to sail her.
Down to